Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Meetinghouse of Provincetown, where we affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every person, and where we support each other on our spiritual search for truth and meaning. Welcome to those of you in the room, and welcome also to those of you joining us via our live stream. And special welcome, I just have to acknowledge that Bo and Paul are back amongst us. Feels so good to have you guys here. My name is Reverend Kate Wilkinson, and I am glad that all of you are here this morning. And happy Holly Folly! Before we begin our worship service, I have just a few announcements to share. I woke up with a little bit of a cold this morning, so I will not be doing a receiving line at the end of service today, even with a negative COVID test. Shaking 50 hands doesn't seem like a good idea right now. Thank you to everyone who came to the World AIDS Day Vigil on Thursday evening. It was a truly lovely memorial gathering. We also blessed the space of the new AIDS support group drop-in center. So if you haven't been there yet, look for that at 301 Commercial Street, right in the center of town. December is a really busy month here at the Meetinghouse. Next week is our Blue Holiday service, where we acknowledge that not everything is merry and bright all the time during the winter holidays. Our anxiety, grief, and depression also make an appearance. So how do we cope when it is not feeling like the most wonderful time of the year? We will be celebrating Hanukkah during our service on Sunday, December 18th. I know that you're going to be excited about our guest speaker that day, Maria Silverman. We are reviving our winter solstice ritual and celebration on Wednesday, December 21st at 5 o'clock. Come sit in the dark with us. There will be candle lighting and storytelling and music and even a special Abbott's Bromley horn dance that dates back to the Middle Ages. We still need a few deer, a fool, and a man in a dress for that. So do let me know if you'd like to take part. On Christmas Eve, we will have our candlelight Christmas Eve service, and you know what? We've decided to let you inside this year. You won't have to bundle up quite so much. And then on Christmas Day, we will be having a really fun lessons and carols service, followed by a potluck brunch downstairs. There is a sign-up sheet on the welcome table if you will be here for the Christmas brunch and would like to contribute something. And if you know anyone who might be spending Christmas alone, please invite them to our service and brunch. And finally, I remind you that our annual meeting is this afternoon at 2 o'clock on Zoom. We are so excited to be welcoming our new members at the beginning of the meeting and then conducting the business of the congregation. We will be posting the words to the new member joining ceremony in the Zoom chat. There's lines for new members, lines for everyone else. But if you'd like a copy to take home with you, because sometimes it's hard to read in the chat and look at the screen, there are copies on the welcome table downstairs. Everyone is welcome to attend the annual meeting, but only members can vote. So look for that link in your email. We hope that those of you in the room will join us for coffee out on the lawn after service today, and there are some cookies left over from last night's concert. And all are welcome at our Zoom coffee hour Tuesday evening at 5 o'clock. Let us know if you need that link. Let's take a moment now to affirm our Meetinghouse covenant. You can find the words on one of these purple laminated sheets if you're here in the pews, but I will say a line and then you can say it back to me. Love is the spirit of this Meetinghouse.
Love is the spirit of this Meetinghouse.
This is our great covenant.
This is our great covenant.
to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. At this time, I invite Shar and Kate to light our chalice for us. As we light our chalice here in the sanctuary, I invite those of you joining us from home to light a candle wherever you are, and that way we can feel connected even while we are apart.
Advent, Adventus, means waiting. And the holiday season is nothing if not waiting. To get done the chores, to find the right gift, to find time for quiet moments, to accept that our loved ones will not be as we wish them to be. We will light the chalice this holiday season, this time of waiting, to remind ourselves to enjoy the moment, the now of our lives. Yes, much is coming, and always we wait. But those things to come will also be now when they come.
We are also in the Christian season of Advent, a season of waiting and of expectancy. Today we light the first and second candles in our Advent wreath.
We light this second Advent candle to call upon peace. May warring countries come to the table to negotiate for peace. May oppressed communities receive not only peace, but justice. May our families be at peace around our own tables. And may each of us find our inner peace and center ourselves around a peaceful heart.
Thank you. I invite you now to sing together Spirit of Life, which is hymn number 123 in the Singing the Living Tradition hymnal. You can also find the words of the song printed on the purple laminated cards in the pews. Please join me now in a time of meditation and prayer. As I share our meditation, or at any time during the service, you are welcome to light a silent candle at the table to the right of the pulpit, where there is a journal there to record your thoughts and prayers. Our meditation this morning is a guided meditation by Sherry Woodbury. She writes, I invite you to enter a period of quiet for a guided meditation. You may wish to adjust your position so that your spine is straight, your body relaxed, your hands resting gently in your lap. You'll probably want to close your eyes and shut out all the distractions of the light. Let us take a few deep, slow breaths and begin. With vision muted, notice what your other senses are telling you. You may feel a sense of pressure in your back or your sitting bones, where your body comes into contact with your chair or your pew. You may have feelings of tightness in your shoulders, along the jawline. Release any areas of tension that you notice. Soften the neck and the swallowing muscles. Release any tension you feel in your abdomen, imagining the inner organs of your belly letting go of tension. Soften your eyes. Let them feel warm and relaxed, as if floating in a pool of water. Inhale. Exhale. You may notice strange sensations such as tingling in a muscle or a ticklish feeling on the skin. Whatever comes to your awareness is okay. Just acknowledge it in the silence. Let us turn our attention to the sounds around us. What do you notice in the sanctuary? You may hear your own breathing or a growling stomach. You might hear a neighbor shifting positions, our air purifying machines, perhaps wind blowing by the outer walls of the building. Having acknowledged these outward sounds, let us turn our focus inward now. Thoughts may float through your consciousness. You can just let them float on by. Feelings may bubble up from some deeper place within you. You don't have to name the feeling or put any words to it. Just notice if there is anything there for you with gentle acceptance. Now imagine your body and mind are filled with darkness and silence, like the deep, dark night of a Cape Cod winter. Take comfort in the stillness, the restfulness of this space within you. Don't try to make anything happen. Just rest into this inner darkness, knowing that you are safe in this moment. You can simply be. Breathe in and out. In the quiet corners within, let us sense the healing powers of the body, the amazing ability of our soft animal body to restore damaged cells, to create new healthy cells, to bring balance to systems that have gotten out of whack. Let us acknowledge, too, the creative powers of our minds and hearts. From the mysterious inner regions comes all poetry, all music, From the inner dark emerges all sculpture and dance, all the art and cultures that are the heritages of humanity, even consciousness itself. The great unsolved mystery of science resides in the deep unknown of ourselves. Continue to be with your breath and a still, quiet mood as you rest a while longer in the darkness with humility and awe and gratitude for all the powers of the darkness within yourself.
I Like a Quiet Day by Lois Requist. After the birthday cards, calls, cakes, and candles, the bluster and poof of celebration, I like a quiet day. Sun sifting through shade, spring green branches of willow drifting in a slow dance, a pillow at my back, I consider the possibility of playing the piano. After the holidays, tinseled trees, turkeys, Tabasco, for sound and heat, not for aptness. The bluster and poof of special days. I like a quiet day. Rain keeping me in, I say, though it is more I want to be alone without anyone to remind me how I should feel, what ought to be done next. After travel, airports, arrangements, aperitifs on a veranda, the bluster and poof of other ways, I like a quiet day. Let the world churn on without me. Active participation requires too much. A trip to the gym, an opinion on which wildlife should be saved. What about all these things? After overnight guests, laughing, lounging, learning about each other, the bluster and poof of it all, I like a quiet day. Take me back, the me that I am without expectations, schedules, dinner to eat appropriately, and laugh at a silly sitcom. After all, I need the celebration, holidays, travel, and guests to provide setting, context, place, the quiet day to know who and where I am.
Now is the time when we take a collection for the ongoing support of this meeting house and our shared ministry. As we enjoy a musical reflection by our choir, we welcome your donations here in the sanctuary or online through PayPal or Venmo. You can find that information on our website, uumh.org. On and off site, your offerings will now be gratefully received. Thank you. I'm calling today's worship service, "Be Still My Heart." Maybe you've heard this expression before. It's a poetic idiom that dates back to 1697 in the work of the poet John Dryden. But it's been used in poetry and other literary works ever since then. Sometimes the line is, "Be still, my beating heart." It's sort of an admonition to yourself to calm down when you're overly excited, especially by a love interest. Have you ever been so attracted to someone that you think your heartbeat might be visible through your clothes? Be still, my heart. The line was used earnestly in this way until Gilbert and Sullivan got their hands on it and turned it into a sarcastic remark in the comic opera HMS Pinafore in 1878. Now, when we say, "Be still, my beating heart," we're usually meaning that the situation is not nearly as exciting as had been it suggested. None of this has anything to do with today's sermon. It's really just that I love words and I love idioms and expressions. I love to research where they come from. Once you know the history of a phrase, you can decide if you want to use it earnestly or sarcastically or in a totally different context. The way that I want to use "be still my heart" today has nothing to do with love. My intention is certainly not sarcastic. I want to use it more literally, though still poetically, I hope, as a sort of instruction for the hectic holiday season. Be still, my heart. Though the days before us will be pulling us in a million different directions, though the consumerism machine will be at its strongest, though the engine of family dynamics will be in full gear, though the lights and sounds around us will be bright and loud, I suggest that our instruction to ourselves during this hectic time be simply this: be still, my heart. The other day I had the opportunity of visiting a friend whom some of you know, who is now a sister at St. Margaret's Convent in Duxbury. It was a lovely visit, and it reminded me of this story that I may have shared with you before, but it bears repeating, especially as we enter this busy month of December. 23 years ago, at about this time of year, my mother stopped at the corner store on her way home from work. A woman who she knew by face but not by name approached her and said, "I've been meaning to call you, to invite you to a quiet day at St. Margaret's Convent on Saturday." My mother was surprised at the invitation since she really didn't think that the woman even knew who she was. Wanting to be polite, though, this always gets us into trouble, doesn't it? My mother asked the woman to tell her a little bit more about the day. She answered that it was a day of prayer and meditation and quiet. "It begins with morning prayer," she said. "Then you're free to do whatever you want as long as you remain in silence. At noon, they ring a bell and everyone comes back together for noon prayer, and then hot soup is served in silence. And after that, there's more free, silent meditation time. And then we come back together again at 3 o'clock for closing prayer." At that point in my mother's life, she had never done anything like this. But a day of quiet sounded very appealing to her just then. She had already entered her frantic pre-Christmas state of being, a whirlwind of shopping and rehearsals, concerts and parties, not to mention work and family. My mother asked the woman how much this silent day would cost. And when she told her $12, Mom decided to take the risk. "Yes," she said, "I'd be very interested in going." The woman told my mother that she would call and register her. "Do you know my name?" my mother asked. "Of course," she said. And then the woman offered to pick her up on Saturday morning. This my mother declined, thinking wisely that if the silent day was a bust, she wanted to be able to leave under her own steam. They agreed to meet in the convent parking lot. That Saturday morning, my mother drove to the convent but found no woman waiting for her in the parking lot. She waited for a while, and when the woman didn't appear, she ventured nervously up to the doors on her own. Inside, she was welcomed by the leader of the day, one of the sisters of St. Margaret. Mom told her that someone had called to register her and gave the nun her name. They looked at the list, and Not totally surprisingly, my mother's name was not on it. If there was any doubt before that this was a case of mistaken identity, it was clear now. But the sister simply added her to the list and took her $12. My mother was rather anxious, wondering what she had gotten herself into. Should she have left? She was awfully relieved that they had already called for silence when the convenience store woman finally rushed in. They couldn't speak, so they nodded their heads to each other and smiled. The sister gathered the retreat participants in a large, sparsely but beautifully decorated room and seated them in a circle. She laid out 4 things before her: a wheel from a toy car, a tuning fork, an empty bowl, and a group picture. Then she went on to explain what each of these things represented. The wheel. In pre-Christian times, people stopped their work in the dark time as the days brought them to the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year. They took the wheels from their carts and brought them inside and decorated them with greens and awaited the return of the light. They took the time to be mindful of the dark as they anticipated the solstice. The tuning fork, a reminder to listen, to quiet oneself, to be open to what is ahead, to whatever comes, and to be in tune with it. The empty bowl, half empty or half full. Regardless, the bowl must be emptied out in order to receive, to be filled. Put into the bowl each day a piece of straw or yarn for each blessing during Advent, and it will be soft like the manger by Christmas Eve. A group picture. We are blessed in being open to others' stories, she said, like this one. Many, many years ago, centuries ago really, there was a monastery that no one visited. Living in the forest nearby was an old rabbi. People flocked to him, seeking his wisdom. The abbot finally went out into the forest. He too sought the rabbi's wisdom. He asked, "Why aren't people coming to us?" The rabbi replied, "I will tell you this secret just once. Amongst you lives the Messiah." The abbot hurried back to the monastery and shared this secret with the other monks. They began looking for the Messiah in each other, and through this became a viable, loving community. They came to learn that the Messiah lives in every one of us. Following this introduction, the sister invited the group to use the day in whatever way they wished, as long as they maintained the silence. At first, my mother felt the need to be outside, not yet ready to go inward. She spent time walking around the grounds, gazing out over the bay. At last, though, she found herself in one of the tiny upstairs rooms. When she finally stopped and sat, she realized in the stillness that her cup was already full and overflowing. She sat on the single, straight-backed wooden chair and let the tears fall. Not until she had emptied herself could she truly enter the silence. Only then did she connect with her inner self. Anne LeClaire, the Cape Cod author who practices 2 whole days of silence every month as her spiritual practice, wrote this: "When I was a child, I loved snow days, and I still do. Each one seems a gift, a day with no push to it. a vessel for holding the season's treasures of peace, receptivity, and quiet. Remember waking the morning after it has snowed in the night? The atmospheric shift, everything muted and new, sharp edges softened, the contours of the land coated with white, light refracted to silver, the day filled with mysterious promise. Waking to silence was like that. By seeking stillness, I felt as if I were walking in fresh snow, Anne says, leaving a single trail of footprints. My father, she says, a farmer, used to tell me that a spring snow was nature's fertilizer because it brought nitrogen to the earth. As I lay in bed contemplating the snow-like quality of the day, I recalled this memory and smiled at the idea of silence as the fertilizer for the soil of my soul. Back at the convent, my mother realized that it was not coincidence that had brought her to that place, that space of quiet, that space of simplicity, that space of beauty. And she realized that with her simple words and simple offerings, the sister had woven together 3 different faith traditions, Jewish, Christian, and pagan. And she had invited them to call on their own traditions, or whatever traditions resonated with them as they entered the silent space. We, too, are exploring this season through many different traditions. We have already begun lighting our Advent candles. Soon we will light the candles of the menorah. And on the 21st, we will light candles during the longest night for the winter solstice. On Christmas Eve, we will fill this sanctuary with song and candlelight. But before we do all that candle lighting, before we do our shopping and wrapping and baking and socializing and hosting and visiting, I want to be sure that we have set aside enough time for stillness. An old Zen saying says, you should sit in meditation for 20 minutes every day, unless you are too busy. Then you should sit for an hour. I don't know when our next snow day will be, and perhaps we can't all make our way to a convent for a quiet day, but we do have this time, this moment. And I invite you now to slow your breathing, to quiet your mind, and relax into the peace of this sacred space. No doing, no buying, no hustling, just emptying our cups, letting the silence fertilize our soul. Let's be quiet together just for a few minutes. you open your eyes if you have closed them? My mother writes, this time apart, this quiet day, reminded me once again that it doesn't matter the tradition. It doesn't matter the vehicle or the path. What brings us to the open space of love and giving is not of consequence. The getting there is what matters. The getting there is what matters. This holiday season, take some time for quiet. Take some time for stillness. Take some time for what all of our religious traditions are pointing us towards, that open space of love. Be still, my heart. Amen, and blessed be. It has become our practice to pose a question based on the theme of the service each week. It can be a topic of sharing out on the lawn today or with friends during the week. If you want to delve deeper into this conversation, we hope you can join us on Tuesday at 5 o'clock at our Zoom coffee hour. Our question this week is, what's one thing you can do this week to create stillness for your heart? What's one thing that you can do this week to create stillness for your heart? As you go out into the world, may you find a way to empty your full and overflowing cup to receive the gifts of this season. Go in peace.